How's everyone doing this afternoon? How's been the start of the year? Amazing? Good? Surely there's been something that hasn't gone well. You know, it's been one of the greatest things once you get your degrees that you don't have to worry about tests any longer. So I feel you. I'm sorry. But man, yeah, that causes enough stress. Well, I just wanted to come by, first of all, to talk a little bit about what we're doing in terms of looking ahead, where we're at in that. I told Hope that I hope this will be a regular invitation to come by and talk with this group in terms of what's going on, as well as whenever things start to bubble up and concern you so that we can have a conversation about it. I think that's a healthier thing for an organization. You know, we've finished the framework for the strategic plan. Now, I just found out that I wasn't sure if our director for the strategic plan had come in here and done a special session with SGA or not. And it sounds like that we had not. She and I did a session with students about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I think some of you came to that. But I think I'll see what's on her agenda, and you might want to check with her to see about the possibility of having a discussion. But you know, we have 6 goals in the strategic plan. We're already talking to folks about ways of moving ahead on those goals. I think there are things, you know, you take a look at any one of those goals, whether it's helping more students to attain their degree, what we do in terms of the quality of life on our campus and for our campus community, more experiential learning opportunities. And I have to tell you, that's one of my favorite ones, and especially in that category, we want to increase internships and co-ops, but I want to increase study abroad. I want more of our students to have the opportunity, even if it's for a short period of time, to study in another country, another culture. So that's something we're looking at very hard as well. But in all these areas, we're already doing a number of things. So it's really a matter of how do we leverage that and raise the level, raise the visibility of this university. Whenever we were going through that discussion process with the strategic plan last year, the thing I heard most often from students was, how do we start telling the story of this university so that more people know what we know in terms of what goes on this campus, the quality of what goes on this campus. So how do we get the story out more? And that's one of the things that we will be working on. In fact, we have just hired a new assistant vice president for marketing and communication. And we are looking in terms of what is a good strategy in terms of using not just traditional media, but also some of the newer media to get the story of the university out. So the strategic plan has really been something that we've been working on for the last more than a year to get that into the place where we could begin to develop specific goals and specific activities. We're also coming up right now, this is something that you don't have that much contact with, but that affects everything that you do. And that is we're coming up on the long budget year. The 2011-2013 biennium. In other words, the legislature will come together in January, and we begin the process. I will already be in Bloomington, Indiana at Indiana University when the Commission for Higher Education meets there and presenting USI's operating and capital budgets. So we are being told by the governor not to expect new monies because the state continues to struggle in terms of state revenues, and we know that it's going to be a very tight, very difficult budget year. My hope is that at least we can protect what we have, but certainly I think the expectation in terms of a lot of new allocations is not a reasonable expectation given the condition of the state. And I have to tell you, how many come from states outside of Indiana? What state do you come from? Illinois. Oh, hello. Hi. Yes, indeed. Serious challenges to education to all kinds of public entities in the state of Illinois, given the challenges that Illinois is having. Kentucky's the same story. We don't have to look very far to see some pretty challenging conditions in the public sector. So in many ways here in Indiana, we're doing better than many of the surrounding states, but it's going to be tight. And so we continue to look at ways that we can tighten our belts, find ways to reallocate if necessary. So we continue to look at funding in terms of ways to conserve. And that's going to be, I think, our reality for a while. And we're being called to do that by everyone from the governor to the state legislature to the commission. Part of the budget presentation that I do, part of that has to be, what have you done to try to streamline and to save monies? So that's just going to be part of our reality, and really education goes through these cycles on a fairly predictable basis. So it's boom and bust with high frequency if you are an entity that relies upon public funding, which we do. Our operating budget, 60% of it comes from the state. So that's how important this is. If you talk about an institution the size of IU or Purdue, it's 20-some-odd%. So a cut from the state to IU or Purdue, they have multiple other resources that they can draw upon. That's not the case for USI. And so cuts in state fundings for us really do affect our operations pretty quickly. So we're looking at the long budget session coming up, and that's going to be a challenge, I think, as we move ahead. But we've got a lot of really wonderful things going on too. The opening of the new Business and Engineering Center. I mean, that space, I think, is just fantastic. I can't wait to see the open space connected to the University Center, because I think the space for student organizations is going to be terrific, and I think it's going to draw more people in. I know that's, among student leaders, I hear all the time, how can we get more people involved? How can we get more people connected? Because it becomes a very small group of you sometimes who are always the ones carrying the load. Well, I think that new space, my hope is that that new space will draw more students to us and get more students involved, because that's really the liveliness of this campus and the importance of students participating in governance on this campus is extremely important. So student voice is an important part of how this institution has to operate. So I think that space is going to be a wonderful addition in terms of encouraging more students to get involved. See, what am I missing? Let's see. Other new things coming up. John? There's a lot of great things. I mean, we're going to be taking a look at certainly new academic programs. That's part of, in terms of the business and engineering space, that's part of what those programs are going to be doing. Looking at how to develop programs that integrate those fields. And I think that's going to be very innovative. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of that. Other things new.
Anything on 24/7?
Oh, the 24/7 camp. Boy, that is the goal of the strategic plan, the 24/7 campus that gets the most discussion quite often, and sometimes the most fret and worry in terms of what's the implications of this, and yet really what we're talking about is how to increase the vibrancy of this community. For those who live on this community, who live on this campus, how to have more things going on, and then how to have more things going on so that more people come to our campus. I think that's powerful. I mean, when the artist, Judy Chicago, was in a couple of weeks ago, how many went to her presentation? You tried. It was standing room. Well, it was also sitting room only. In fact, they asked me, can all these folks sit in the front? And then, I could just hear the VP for Business Affairs going, fire codes? So, but it was splendid. I mean, we had many of our colleagues and peers from the University of Evansville there, Signature School. I mean, there were a number of folks who were there to take part. And that's what we're looking for, is how do we get more people to come to this campus? I can't tell you. You have to have heard it. I can't tell you how many times I have an exchange with someone when they've brought their student, their son or daughter here, and they turn to me and they say the same thing I've heard 1,000,000 times. I didn't know you all had all that out there. So I think the more we can get folks on this campus, the more we can have speakers, performers, for fun, for intellectual exchange. I think that's terrific. Did you start to raise your hand?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes. I have a question once you get done, though.
You do have a question once I get done? So if I keep talking, I can actually talk through it. And I'm an old professor. You know I can do it. No, that's great, because I would like to open it up for questions and anything that I can take back or answer. So there's a lot of, that's one of the things that I was talking to a couple of our state legislators today. And I said, you look at sometimes the budget realities and it gets kind of discouraging. But then I come back to this campus and I see all that's going on. I see what the students are doing. I see what the faculty are doing. I see what dedication of our staff. And that's what feeds you. That's what you say, there are so many terrific things going on. So many new things. And my best hope is that we provide an institution where there's an openness to innovation, thinking about new things, trying. They may fail. Failure is not the worst thing in the world, though on a test it can be pretty devastating. But trying something new that doesn't work, you'll learn a lot from that, just as you learn some from things that work. So I'm hoping that we create an atmosphere where folks feel as if ideas can percolate and can hit the desk. I just had a couple of sessions of students who came in and had some ideas on a couple of things, including a no smoking campus, and we are looking at that. So we are considering that right now, and that's very likely to happen in the coming year.